Hi everybody, I'm going to do a short video here talking about widgets and plugins, which are a couple of other ways that you can adjust your site. So I mentioned that CSS is one pathway to changing things on the site. And you can change things through your theme. So you want to make sure you know your theme very well and where everything is located on the theme. And then WordPress has some built-in ways that you can change things about your site. So the most common way that people change things are through widgets, okay? And widgets are usually built into your theme somewhere. So they're either in a sidebar or in the footer. On this particular theme that I'm using for my little sandbox site, they're in the bottom here, okay? Because this is designed as a one column format. It's meant to be used for mobile, so all of your boxes bop down to the bottom. And so you can do very simple things like a search box. You can add your recent posts and it'll highlight them. It'll put your categories, that kind of thing. So if you go to the add a widget, it gives you all kinds of things that you can add to your site. But you can actually have some kind of cool things. You can add a gallery, you can add an image, you can attach an RSS feed from another site so you get updated headlines. Like if you wanted to pull in something from the New York Times or another news site to add some heft to your website, you could link that to an RSS feed. You can see we've got forms that we can add. But the one I wanted to highlight to you is this custom HTML box. So what I did is I created a box called Great Links, which is just a simple little box. And what that does is it lets you write code in there. So you notice you can actually create your own little box if you want to, and you can give it an ID, and then you could style it however you want using your CSS. So you can be a little bit creative with your widgets, but you'll notice pretty quickly that it feels a bit limited, and you may want to do something more and add some features that aren't built into your theme. So how do you go about doing that? You do that through plugins. Okay, and plugins are really the action for WordPress installations. And this is why I made you set it up on a hosted installation rather than going through WordPress.com. Because going through WordPress.com, you can't add third-party plugins. It's a little more limited on what you can do. But WordPress.com does have some built-in things that are really useful that aren't necessarily built into the WordPress installation, right? So if you want to get some of that functionality, you can add this plugin called Jetpack. And it sort of adds everything from WordPress.com to your installation. Things like site stats. It adds some other just little basic things that you may want to use. But in order to activate it, you actually have to create a WordPress.com account. Yeah, I know that's confusing. So I have one. So it will connect your hosted installation to WordPress.com. Okay. So you'll create an account here and then you'll go back and you'll install your Jetpack and then you'll link it to your WordPress.com account. And just keep that thought in your head that the two sites are separate, that WordPress.com is separate from your hosted WordPress installation on Reclaim. And what you're doing is you're connecting it. It's like when you use your Facebook login to log into another site. That's kind of what you're doing here with this function. So Jetpack is one that you may want to add, and it has all kinds of features that you may want to take a look at. Like I said, the big one is that it gives you the site stats to track what your site is doing. Eventually, what we'll do is we'll add a plugin for Google Analytics because they're a little more detailed than the built-in site stats. Now, there are some parts to Jetpack that they no longer are free and they're trying to charge you for upgrades. But there are a couple of nice little functions like this image accelerator, because you're always wanting your site to run as quickly as possible. So I would encourage you to look at installing Jetpack. I would also encourage you, there is a plugin that is useful. Let me go to it here. It's called Yoast SEO, and basically WordPress is already designed for SEO. It does some things really well to make your site search engine friendly, but Yoast SEO adds a few more features that you may find useful. So I usually encourage people to add this plugin because it will build a sitemap for you that you can submit to Google. It will actually analyze your content and say, do you have a key phrase that you're using? Um, when you install plugins, occasionally they need to be updated. So here's one that needs to be updated. So I'm going to update it now so you can kind of just see how it works. I would not update more than one plugin at a time. I've had sites break when I've done that. So what I do just to be conservative is do them one at a time just to be safe. I mean, like 90% of the time it'll be fine if you just highlight them all and say update all. But there was one time I crashed a site totally by doing that, and it took a lot of workarounds to get the site back up and running. So I would just encourage you to update them one by one. Okay, so that's these plugins. Now there's one other plugin I would like you to show. So how do you add a plugin? So you go to add new and you can search for all different kinds of plugins. And there are literally thousands of plugins. And they can do just about anything you want. If you want to add a discussion forum, if you want to add an event calendar, if you want to add a page builder because you feel like WordPress is too limited, there are all different kinds of things that you can add. Unfortunately, it's like using the Google Play Store. Some of the apps are great and some of them are not great. And that's how it is with plugins. So just like the struggle you went through in your themes to try and find the right theme, you may encounter that with plugins. I find that people struggle a little bit trying to find a good slider plugin. So that's one that you may struggle with a little bit. But there is one that I would like you to install up front, and it's called Wordfence. And what this is a security plugin. Because WordPress is used by so many sites, um, hackers target the sites. So what Wordfence does is it's a protection and a firewall, and it protects you when people are trying to hack your site. So when you find a plugin, one of the things you want to do to help you decide on whether it's a good plugin or not is take a look at how many people have installed it and then look at how often it's updated. So you noticed I had the Yoast plugin. That developer, he keeps that plugin pretty well updated. Same with Jetpack because it's created by Automatic, the people who make WordPress. It updates all the time. And Wordfence is also a very regularly updated plugin. So when you find the plugin that you're looking for, so that's what I did, and I will go to install. And then when you install a plugin, that's not enough to do. You have to activate it too. And when you activate it, things can happen, right? Because it may change a menu, it may appear somewhere within your dashboard. So what you want to do is see what it's done. There we go. So there's Wordfence. I successfully installed it. And it created a new little menu item here. So I can look at all the different features of my Wordfence. Same with the SEO plugin that I have installed, and Jetpack's the same way. So they're adding menu items and adding functions. Now, at first blush, you may go, wow, well, that's really cool. I can add all kinds of things to my website. I would caution you against going plugin crazy because each plugin you add is adding code to your website and it will slow it down. So plugins, and it's also the kind of thing what you want to do for troubleshooting purposes is add a plugin one at a time. Don't add multiple plugins all at once. You want to add it in, make sure the site functions correctly, because sometimes plugins will conflict with one another. and you want to be able to backtrack it. This is why you're doing your developer journal and keeping track of everything that you're doing to your website so that you can see, oh, I added this plugin on this day and all of a sudden I started getting weird behavior on my website, or it seemed to mess up the layouts on some of my posts. So then that it was the plugin that was probably causing the problem. So when you're using WordPress, what you have to do is you assign an administrative email where they will send updates, because what it will do is if someone's trying to break into your site, it'll say, this, you just had 20 attempts to enter your website. And you were like, well, I wasn't doing it. So it appears somebody was trying to hack my site. I don't want to be on the security list. And now I just go to continue. And then this will give me all of the basic features. The other thing you will want to add is a backup plugin, and you'll want to find one that you don't have to pay for. And there are a couple of free ones that you can use. I don't want to upgrade. No thanks. And now I have WordPress. And so what you can do by seeing these, you can also get to your settings sometimes here through the different plugins. So you click on the settings and then it takes you to the menu and you can do all the different things that you want to do with your plugins. And that's how you install a plugin. So what I would do is if you're looking, you have a theme, it does most of what you want it to do, but it's missing a couple of features and you want to add a feature like a slider or something along those lines, then what I would do is dig in, look through the plugins menu and search there for the plugins that you're looking for. There are lots of sites that can help you try to find some things. One I really like, even though it's called beginner, it's not really for beginners. It's called WP Beginner, and it's a great guide for doing things in WordPress and doing everything from tweaking your themes and making recommendations on plugins. And it's just a really good website for people new to WordPress. So I would recommend looking there. And then don't forget about the thing that I called the Codex, which also has forums and discussions so that you can kind of get a feel for what people are looking at here. Okay? Because you got the plugins that are built in on the WordPress.org. 55,000 plugins. Yeah. So lots of things that you can do and be looking around and adding them to your site and customizing them. That can take a lot of your development time. So the ones that I feel like are the big ones, we're going to add one for Google Analytics. I think the SEO plugin is a good one. I think Wordfence is a really important one. And you can also activate this Akismet. Basically what this is sometimes hackers will bomb your sites, kind of like Zoom bombing, but what they're doing is they will bomb your site with comments. And this anti-spam helps prevent that. So take a look around on some of the plugins. That's a couple ways to customize through plugins and widgets. And if you have any issues, just let me know. Good luck.